Damon Hill warns George Russell the pressure of partnering Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes means he will need to drive faster than he's ever driven before. But the 1996 world champion backs passionate youngster to thrive with the Silver Arrows. George Russell is learning pretty quickly that excuses don't wash when you drive for Mercedes, and 1996 world champion Damon Hill is not so sure the youngster will get much of a bedding in period, either. Russell was brought in from Williams over the off-season as a replacement for Valtteri Bottas, and in an instant he has been catapulted from a backmarker with little hope of a points finish to an expectation of a podium at every single race. Seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton will still be Mercedes' go-to man, but Hill knows how the paddock works and his advice may seem rudimentary to Russell, but the message is clear: don't be slow. Just make sure you're fast. He tells Sportsmail when asked what he'd tell Russell ahead of lights out in Bahrain for the opening race on Sunday. You're going to have to be possibly faster than you've ever driven before. It is a big step. He's been in Formula One, so he's in tune with the business and he knows the team and they know him very well, so it's not completely out of his comfort zone. But it's what happens if you find it harder to match your teammate over a long period of time and you start getting questions. You don't want to be getting those questions halfway through the season. Was it harder than you thought? Was Lewis quicker than you thought? Do you think you can go any faster? Those are the things that I am sure he will be keen to avoid. Russell, who Hamilton has previously described as amazing, suggested during the second round of pre-season testing that Mercedes are currently behind rivals Red Bull and Ferrari heading into the season. That drew criticism from Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, who felt it was typical of a driver who has form for hype, the Spaniard claimed. Typical Mercedes, typical George, just hype up the others and then come to the first race and blow the competition away, Sainz moaned. If it would be the first year they've done it, then I would maybe believe them, but they've done it for 5 or 6 years now and they keep surprising us in the first race. As you can imagine, I don't believe much. We can see what they are doing, on track, and I'm not going to say much. It was in Bahrain in 2020 that fans got a glimpse of the future, Russell flying around the track in a Mercedes. Hamilton was absent following a positive COVID test, and were it not for a bungled pit stop, it was widely expected that Russell would have picked up his first win in F1. He has since come out and said it would have been too much of a fairy tale to have won during that Mercedes debut, but Hill remains hopeful that that elusive win is coming in 2022. The thing we will always remember him for is nearly winning his first ever race for Mercedes in Bahrain. What a great show he put on there, Hill added. He was emotional and keen for that to have gone the right way, and how upset he was that it didn't. He's got a very good head on his shoulders, but he's passionate as well, and that's a good combination. I'm sure he will reason things out. He's very articulate, so you will get good answers, and direct answers from him, I'm sure. While this is as much a one to watch with the Silver Arrows as to how Russell fares, it is an incredibly intriguing year ahead to how a scorned Hamilton bounces back to the disappointment of losing the title controversially to Max Verstappen on the last lap of the last race in 2021. Hamilton took a lengthy social media break following the disappointment in Abu Dhabi, but has come back looking refreshed to take another shot at winning a record 8th world title. In one sense for Hill, losing out to Verstappen last season in the manner that he did has eased the burden of responsibility atop Hamilton's shoulders to go and break Michael Schumacher's record of 7 championships. I can't see into Lewis' head, but I am just wondering whether this not getting it in a way has relieved him of that pressure, Sky Sports F1 expert Hill pondered. He has got 7 world titles and more race victories than anybody else, and you saw Mick Schumacher presenting him with Michael's helmet, which, in a way, acknowledged that he has superseded Michael's record. If he gets number 8, then fantastic, that would just be beyond everyone. But if he doesn't get the 8, he's had a fantastic career to look back on. It's remarkable. Asked if he'd have had the amount of energy needed to keep plugging away for championships, Hill doubted he had the stomach for it back in his day. "I put everything I could into winning it once and I could have had another stab probably, but I don't know if I could keep doing it," he said. "It's an enormous amount of pressure to do it to yourself. I still think Lewis Hamilton is hungry and he really wants the 8. What Netflix's most recent Drive to Survive series showed was the universal desire throughout the paddock to see Mercedes, 8-time Constructors' champions, knocked off their perch. Hill is unquestionably an advocate of greater competition and for Mercedes to be under pressure, but not at the expense of turning a blind eye to misdemeanors on track. "I think that if my theory is correct, everyone wanted to spice the show up as much as they could last season," he warned. "They had had a long run of Mercedes dominance and they wanted another challenger, and maybe they made small changes to allow the next challenger to bring competition to the show. If you remember how they modified the floor, there was an argument at the start of the season that hurt Mercedes more than it hurt Red Bull. Whatever happened on track and in the design regulations, it seemed to be that everyone agreed they wanted more entertainment, more excitement and more racing, and that is fine. I am totally in favor of that, but what we don't want to do is have inconsistent decision-making to turn a blind eye because that's expedient." So now the gauntlet is laid down to Mercedes to put one of their driver pairing back on top. And if that is to be Hamilton, Hill is keen to stress that Russell, no longer wearing a rookie tag, cannot find himself too far behind.